we're going to keep this short. I don't think you need a bio on me. I'm with Mountain States Rosen. I also serve on the American Land Board, and I'm part of the executive committee for USMEF, which is a export supporting trade organization. Beck and I are just going to give you a very brief update. We are on a limited time, so I'm going to go through these pretty quick. We just want to give you an update on some of the trends going on in the lamb industry in terms of export opportunities. Year to date through November 2012, we exported 12.3 metric tons. That's equivalent to about 27 million pounds and a value of a little over $24 million. Unfortunately, year over year, it's down 27% on the tonnage and down 13% on value. And the consist is made up of about 62% lamb and mutton products and 38% offal variety meats along those. But we need to reverse that trend to grow our market. If you look at the key markets that we support, Mexico is our largest, and they are actually up. Followed by Canada, and then lastly the Caribbean. If you look at the Mexico market, it is a rather price-sensitive market. It's a market that's predicated a lot on the thin meats and offal, and quite a few shoulders go into that market. Canada is more of a balanced market for us. We've had the opportunity, we move some legs there and offal, but they do use all of the cuts. And then the Caribbean has predominantly been a middle meat market because of the resorts and upscale operations there, but there are some shoulders moved into that market as well. Get the right way here. Some additional markets, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these, but the EU is a market, and there is an opportunity there for non-hormone treated products. And the lamb industry fits into that program extremely well. An emerging market for us is the Central South America, and we negotiated an FTA, a foreign trade agreement with them, and particularly Colombia and Panama, and that's a growing market for lamb. And then the Middle East has been a good market, particularly for offal. Almost all of the lamb livers go into the Middle East now, particularly Egypt. But it is one of those markets that is tied to halal certification, improves your opportunities. The lamb industry has done quite a business in Hong Kong on the high-end upscale food service side, as well as Singapore. And then Russia has just, again, a new market, because in 2012, there was a World Trade Organization, they joined it to open up market access. There's obviously some issues, if some of you have been following the pork and beef rotocamine situation in their veterinary standards, tying it to science, and there's definitely going to, until that happens, until they get the SPS agreements worked out, that sanitary sanitation, until they get those worked out, there's going to be definite challenges and trade disruptions in trying to advance our programs in Russia. Some things that Beck is going to particularly address is Japan, Korea, and Taiwan in terms of market access. We are just on the verge of converting the beef side from the 20-month to the 30-month agreement, and that will definitely help the lamb industry move forward because of the lack of market access due to scrapies. Korea to date is predominantly gets product out of Australia. Taiwan is just opening up. Again, they had a lot of issues with beef and pork in Taiwan, and through the USDA and USMEF, some of that's been worked out, so that's emerging. And then China, that's the 800-pound gorilla, and I'm going to leave that to Greg Earhart and his new position in export marketing, so we'll let him handle that one. In terms of USMEF and their funding, they get 56% of their fundings from USDA, either market access program, for foreign market development, or the foreign ag service. But they also get funds from the beef checkoff from the pork checkoff, soybean checkoff, corn, and then lamb and other trade groups contribute to that, and through that contribution of American Lamb Board is how I end up on the executive committee, and with that we've been able to at least get lamb a little more on the forefront of some of their discussions, and they've been very, very interested in doing that. They're a really unique and great asset to any of the protein industries. And again, Becca will kind of expand on that because that's her turf, but they help us identify market opportunities. They're very important in the gathering of good fundamental intelligence so we can put together our marketing strategies. They do a lot of product promotions throughout the countries they serve, provide a tremendous amount of technical services, not only to the industry, but to USDA. And they help with these market access issues and market penetrations. And one of the things I've always said about USMEF, they're one of those trade organizations that actually really help you sell something, and we like that. If you look at the opportunity for lamb, compare it to beef, of the total production, about 12.6% of beef is exported, but the contribution to the value per head is $214.64. That helps hold up that value of that animal. Same way with pork, 27.4% of the pork production is exported, and that equates to a 56.12 per head. And lamb, 20% of lamb is exported, again, predominantly into Mexico, Canada, and the Caribbean, but we have a value equal to 13.18, and that's what we need to do. We need to increase that value, and that's the contribution that we can make back through the supply chain and help develop the market. If you look at some of the competitive forces, Australia and New Zealand, as we know, through that they make up about 48%, 49% of our market. We know that they're formidable competitive forces out there, but we're not their only market. As you can see, for Australia, we were the third place market. Middle East was the primary. It's of that total metric tons, Middle East made up 25.3%. The value for the year was up 26.5%, China 17.1%, up 34%, and U.S. Made up 14.5% of the total, and it was up 10%. So they're not going away, and they're going to be there for us to compete against. New Zealand was up 3% year to date, and China was their number one market, followed by the UK, Middle East, and U.S. They were actually down in the U.S., 14%. Uruguay is another exporter into other countries, and their predominant mix goes into Brazil, China, and Middle East, and there is some lamb comes out of Chile and moves into different markets like the EU because of the non-hormone treated product, Hong Kong, and the Middle East. One of the things that we need to always consider when we're talking about market access is that this doesn't involve just a single issue. This is very complex in terms of the political landscape and the complicated technical standards that hinge on the questions of science. And so, once a market is closed, and a perfect example of that is Japan, trying to get that market back open is really very, very difficult. And so to do that, we've got to have the science right. But it's not always about science. There's a lot of other issues that interact in there that drive this. And so to be effective at that, it's really about the confidence that we can put into our product. And the lamb does a great job with that, but it's also politics. And then it's important that our government have very functional, focused strategies to address these issues, and that the engagements are sustained. It's important that they just don't go and meet every 6 months to make progress on that. But for us, really, the lamb has such a great story to tell, and in the landscape of the animal well-being and the source verification side, which is an extremely important part for export products. It's extremely component of market access. And those foreign governments, those customers overseas, they expect USDA and they expect the producers to be able to react and respond quickly when there are issues, whether it be a humane handling issue, whether it be a disease outbreak, or whether it be some type of adulterated product. So that's an important aspect of what we do. And again, we have an extremely good story in that particular arena. One of the things that we did in USMEF with the support of the staff is this year we actually got a resolution passed through the organization, and this is paraphrased because it's actually more in depth than that, but this was, I think, a significant step, and it sends a definite, strong message to USDA and to the various segments that help us gain market access. But it states, whereas the sheep industry is a safe, reliable, and quality supplier of lamb products, whereas USMEF market intelligence indicates there is demand for lamb due to superior quality and global protein needs, whereas the U.S. sheep industry faces market access restrictions due to the presence of transmissible spongiovore encephalopathy or scabies, whereas scabies is not considered a zoonotic disease, and the U.S. sheep industry has implemented a scrapie eradication program that meets OIE requirements, the World Animal Health requirements. Therefore, be it resolved that the U.S. government should include U.S. lamb market access as a priority and negotiate market opening agreements for U.S. lamb in target countries. And so that's really that's the foundation of some of the things we do. And this was put together by a combined set of work between USMEF, Superior Farms, the American Land Board, and we're trying to get this position. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for it, and I'm going to turn it over to Becca, and she's going to expand on some of these particular issues because she's the authority on it. I'm just the peddler.